Hello folks, and today we're going to be learning about adding and subtracting rational expressions. So I hope you're ready for a lot of fractions and a lot of fun stuff with something like this. Alright, so we're going to start our lesson. Start with something pretty simple. Okay, so let's start off. We're going to zoom in to this question right here. Okay, so find the difference of 2 minus 18. Okay. So again, we have to note we are dealing with a positive 2. We are dealing with a negative 18. Okay? So if we're taking a positive 2 and minusing 18 from it, most of you probably already know you've got negative 16. So again, kind of an odd way to think about it is think about money. Okay? If you have positive $2, so this is $2 that you have, and then you got to pay somebody 18 because you owe them 18 bucks for whatever. When you put this all together, 2 minus 18, if you have $2 and you have to pay 18, you still owe 16 bucks. Okay? So, there's that one. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Okay? So, let's go to question 2. Okay, so now find the sum. Now, one thing we have... Oh, this is rocking here. So one thing we have to be very careful of in a project like this is to make sure that we have all the right signs. Now you're going to notice in a problem like this, we've got double signs here, right there. Okay, we don't like that, okay? So when I'm dealing with something like this, a double sign problem, we're going to have to be very careful. We have to evaluate this properly, okay? So to do something like that, we have to take a look at our tables here, okay? So if we're adding a positive number, okay, kind of like a multiplication rule at the same time. If you're adding a positive number, you're really just, you have a positive, okay? If we're adding a negative number, most of us know if I'm adding a negative, I'm really just subtracting. Okay. Now, if I'm minusing a positive number, it's still subtraction. And last but not least, if we're minusing a negative number, we again are going to be adding. Okay. So, back to our instance up here, okay? So looking at this, if I'm adding a negative really means we're subtracting here, okay? So if we're adding a negative, we're really minusing. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that over into a subtraction problem. So negative 13 plus 5 minus 7. So we change that double sign into a flat up negative. Okay. Now at this point, now we can just add across, add it up. Okay. So negative 13 plus 5, well that's negative 8, we all know that. Then minus 7, add that together, we get negative 15. Okay. So nothing too crazy so far. All right, so let's zoom out and zoom to question 3. Okay, oops. It's all rocky here. There we go. All right, so now the next one. Okay, again, notice we have a double sign here. We are minusing a negative. So first thing you should definitely do is we have to look at taking care of that first. Okay, so if I'm minusing a negative, technically we are adding. So we're going to make that a plus 3. Okay, so now at this point, now it's just an adding and subtracting problem. So negative 11 plus 3 is going to be negative 8. And it's as easy as that. All right, next one. Change in temperature. Find the difference. Now with something like this, we have to note, okay, whether we're dealing with an increase or a decrease, because there are two different formulas. Okay. Now, if we are dealing with an increase in values, okay, we're going to take the larger number and subtract the smaller number from it. Pretty simple. Now, if we are decreasing, meaning the value is going downwards, you take the smallest number and minus the largest number from it. Okay, so that's going to be the basis for what we are dealing with here. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's look at our problem. So we're going from negative 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 62 degrees Fahrenheit. So the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, what are we dealing with here? Are we dealing with an increase or are we dealing with a decrease? And obviously going from negative 45 to positive 62, we are clearly dealing with an increase here. Okay?
What are you doing, Dad?
I am teaching a lesson.
Oh.
So.
Is that the YouTube channel you have on
Yep.
YouTube?
So since this is an increase, we're going to take the largest number, 62, and we are going to minus the negative 45 from it. Okay? So now, since we are dealing with a double negative, if I'm minusing a negative, I'm really just adding. So 62 plus 45. So I saw a temperature change when I put this all together of 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? So there's that. All right, so let's look at the next slide. Okay, so again, very similar material. Okay, so let's first zoom in. Okay, so again, like we were seeing earlier, okay, I see we've got double signs here. So we have to take care of that first. Okay, so in this case, because I am adding a negative, we are really subtracting. So negative 2.6 minus 3.4 plus 7.6. Make these decimal points a little bit bigger so they don't look like just... Well, that looks awful. Let's see if I can fix that. And then fix that. Da, da, da. Okay. So there's that. All right, so now let's start to combine like terms. So here, negative 2.6 minus 3.4, we are adding these together. So 4 and 6 is going to give me a 10, so 0, decimal point, carry the 1. So negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5, with 1 more is going to be negative 6. Plus 7.6. Okay, now at this point, now we're finishing, we'll add these together. So negative 6 plus 7.6, you're obviously going to have positive 1.6. And that's nice and easy right there. Okay. Alright, so now let's go over here. Adding and subtracting fractions. I know this is what you guys have been waiting for. Adding and subtracting of the fractions. Okay, so first things first. Okay, again, we've got double signs here. So we've got to evaluate the double sign. So if I'm minusing a negative, again, as most of you know, that's really turning to a plus. Okay. So I'm going to bring this way up here. So negative 3/10 plus 2/5. Okay, so now at this point, again, in order to add and subtract fractions, we have to have common denominator. Okay, our LCD, lowest common denominator. Oh, that looks terrible. Try that again.
Good job, Dad. You're making a terrible thing.
LCD. So again, our lowest common denominator. So we look at our pieces. Now remember, a common denominator is something we can multiply up to. So we've got 10 and 5. So the common denominator here is going to be 10, because 10 times 1 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. But again, I can't multiply 10 by anything nice to get it down to 5. And again, we could times it by half, but I don't think you really want to be making complex fractions yet. All right, so this one, like I said, this fraction right here, this fraction's all good. Because again, our denominator is 10, we needed it to be 10, so we're good. Okay, so now, this one is at 5. We need to times 5 by something to get it to 10. And as most of you know, that's going to be a 2. So a 2 and a 2. All right, so we're going to multiply this. So we're going to get negative 3/10 plus 2 times 2 is going to be 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Then the 5 times 2 is 10. All right. Now that we have it here, now we can add across the top. Again, remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you only go across the top. The bottom stays as it is. So this is going to stay as 10. Okay, so negative 3 plus 4 is going to be positive 1. So your answer is 1/10. And don't worry, we're going to play more with the fractions a little bit later in this video, so don't think you're getting out of this too easily. All right, so let's go to the next one. So number 3, evaluate the expression. So again, folks, here we have, like we saw once before earlier in this unit, we have values for x and y. So the first thing we're going to do is let's substitute those values in. But I also have to be very careful of these other signs that are kind of lying around here, okay? Because realize, like for instance, when we deal with x and y, okay, the sign here, it does not correlate to the sign here, okay? So let's start off. So we're going to start with the negative that's in front of the x, so negative. My x value, we're told, is 2.3, so 2.3 plus a negative. If we want to change this now, this double sign, we can. I would recommend it. So if I'm adding a negative, remember we're really just minusing, and that's going to be 0.23. Okay, plus my y value, so plus negative 0.8. Okay. So now at this point, now let's evaluate our double signs. Now remember here, there's a plus hiding here technically. So adding a negative is really negative, so minus 2.3 minus 0. Wait a minute, where did this 2.3 come from? That should be just 0.3. Sorry about that, guys. So if you guys were yelling at the video earlier, now you know it should have been 0.3, sorry. Plus a negative here.
Oh, can I see those?
Okay, so it'll be minus
Yes.
0.8. Okay. So now at this point, now we're adding and subtracting like terms. So negative 2.3 minus 0.3. So negative 2.3 minus 0.3. It's going to be negative 2.6. And then we're going to minus 0.8 from that. So negative 2.6 minus 0.8 gives us a grand total of negative 3.4. There's that one. Okay. So let's look at the next one. All right, another change in temperature. So that's the increase, decrease stuff we just saw in the last slide. Okay, so remember, if it's an increase, okay, we're going to take the large minus the small. If we're dealing with a decrease, it's the small minus the large. Okay. So in this case, let's read the problem, see what we're dealing with here. So we're dealing with 4.8 to negative 12.6. So we are seeing a clear decrease in value here. So we're going to use the decreasing formula. Okay. So we're going to do the smallest number, negative 12.6 minus 4.8. Okay. So now when we do this out, so on the side, negative 12.6 minus 4.8. 8 and 6 is 14. Carry the 1. We have the decimal. Okay. 4 and 2 is 6 with 1 more is 7. 1 and then bring the sign down. So you have negative 17 points. You already had chocolate milk today. Look you. See? But Oreo is dead right now. We gotta plug it in. Alright, so let's go to the next slide. Alrighty, so now we have fractions. Yes. Yeah. Back off. Alright. So now we're going to look at a problem like this, and Gwen can help us. Yeah, hold on, Gwen. Yeah, you're stuck. All right. Yeah. Yeah, you want your Cheetos while we do this problem? Here you go. Here's your Cheetos. Okay. So here we go, folks. So first thing we do, we have all these ugly fractions. So the first thing I would recommend we do... Stop. First thing I recommend you do is let's convert these to improper fractions first, okay? So remember, to do that, we're going to start by taking the denominator and timesing it by the whole number. So in this case, 4 times 2 is 8. Then we're going to add this number to it. So we're going to multiply, and then you add, okay? So 4 times 2 is 8. One more is going to be 9 halves, okay? Plus, we're going to do the same thing here. So 3 times 4 is 12. With one more is 13 fourths. Minus, now we do here, 8 times 2 is 16. With one more is 17 eighths. Yeah. Nanite? What do you mean nanite? No, we got a problem to do. Now at this point, now we have to establish the common denominator.
No.
Okay. So, we start. Common denominator here is with all our pieces. LCD. Between 2, 4, and 8, my common denominator is going to be what? Gwen, what's the common denominator? I'm going to say 8. That's what you're doing. You're eating, right? Cheetos. Very good, Cheetos. Okay, so common denominator is 8. Okay? So we have to tweak these fractions to make this happen. So again, in order to get a denominator here, I got a 2 here. I'm going to need to multiply by 4s to make this happen. So we're going to have 36 over 8. Plus, now this fraction here in the middle, okay, in order to get the denominator 8, I got to times by 2's. So 13 times 2 is 26 over 8. Minus 17 eighths. I didn't have to change that one because it was already an 8. Okay. Yeah, but Oreo's broken right now. So now, so you get to do math with me instead. See, it's like Team Umizoomi, only you're on it. Look, you're right up here. See? Look right there.
Pen.
Yeah.
Pen.
Yeah, I'm playing with a pen.
You see a pen.
Yeah. All right, so now at this point, now we can go across the tops. Okay. Do this up. So 36 plus 26. Okay, 36 plus 26 is going to be 62, right? So when we add these together, you get 62 eighths minus 17 eighths. Okay. And now we subtract. So 62 minus 17 is going to be 44. No, not 44. It's going to be 45. So 45 over 8. Okay. Now at this point, we're going to try to reduce our fractions. So 45 over 8. Can I reduce 45 over 8? The answer is no, you cannot. So in an algebra, at least in my class, you can leave it as an improper fraction. We don't need to convert. I told you, Oyo's broken. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's go to the next question. All right. So what I want you guys to do here is I want you guys to work on this problem. Ow. Okay, I put Gwen back in here. She wants to see herself.
Yes.
Yes, you want to see yourself.
I want to see myself.
Okay. All right, so I want you guys to work on this problem. We'll go at this for about a minute or so. I'll let you try it. And then when we come back, I will come back and do this problem. Again, leave the video running, and I will start back up. Yes, I'll get you a yogurt bite. So leave the video running, do the problem, and in a minute or so, I will come back and we will talk about how to do this problem. All right, folks, we're back. All right, so let's talk about this problem. Okay, so here we go. Let me get my marker up. Actually, first things first. Noticing we've got a lot of mess here, so let's clean this up. So let's go to improper fraction. But again, we're going to ignore this negative sign when we're doing our loop-de-loop. So then that way we can solve this out. So here you go. 8 times 6 is 48. With one more is 49 eighths. And now after you do that, that's when this negative comes back. You want to get down? All right. You're stuck. Yep, not anymore. Goodbye. Oh. Okay, now we do our loop here. Okay. So 3 times 4 is 12. With 3 more is 15 fourths. Minus, now this 1/2 stays as 1/2. Okay, so again, now we have to establish common denominator. Okay. So, what would my common denominator between 8, 4, and 2 be? Bella?
Okay.
What would the common denominator be? Between 8, 4, and 2?
Don't know.
You don't know. You better know, Rose. Come on. Common denominator.
The common denominator between them is 2.
No, that's least common multiple. Try again. If I were adding these fractions together, which what I'm doing is, what would my common denominator be?
Common denominator?
Yep.
Oh, it would be 8.
It would be 8. Yes. Because I can multiply all these numbers. I can multiply 8 to 8. I can multiply 4 by 2 to 8. And 2 to 4. Okay. All right, so now let's create common denominator. Now, nicely enough, this first fraction is all set. So we can write it as negative 49 eighths. Okay. Plus, now this we have to tweak with 2's. Okay, so you're going to have 30 over 8 minus 1/2. Okay, so now that we have this, now we can go across. Oh, whoops! I need to fix that.
1/8.
Yeah, that
Or
should be.
1/2. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I do. I screwed that
It
up.
would be 4/8.
Yes, it would. So we tweak that by 4's, and you would have 4/8. Okay. All right. So now we can. Yes. So let's go across the top now. So negative 49 minus 30 is negative 19
That's
eighths. Yeah, but this is negative.
Oh.
So it's like subtracting. Minus 4/8. Okay. So now finish going across the top. Negative 19 minus 4 is negative 23. Oops. 23 eighths. Then our last step is to try to reduce this, but I can't do anything with negative 23 over 8. So there it is. You can leave it as an improper fraction. All right, so again, here's our next one. So again, I'm going to give you about a minute or so. I want you to work on this and try it. But I do warn you, be careful with this. Again, this is going to be 2 over 1 when you do this out. So be very, very careful. So like I said, I'm going to give you about a minute. Try this out. Again, leave the video running. Okay? Leave the video running, and I will be back with you in about a minute. All right, guys, we're back. All right, so let's start doing this problem out.
She wants that.
Yeah, hold on. All right, so here's Glenn again. What? What? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you're stuck. You want out, down? Okay, move. Thank you. All right, so let's start. Start with our loop-de-loop. So 3 times 4 is 12. Oh, hold on, I got highlighter on. Why is she screaming?
I don't know.
Because she wants to step on that. All right, so here we go. First things first, let's loop-de-loop. 3 times 4 is 12. With 2 more is 14 thirds. Plus 1 times 4 is 4. With 1 more is 5 fourths. Plus 2. Now, 2 is just 2 over 1.
Right.
All right, now let's get our common denominator here. All right, what's my common denominator between 3, 4, and 1?
Okay. 12.
It is 12 because I can multiply 3 to 12 by using 4. I can multiply 4 to 12 using 3.
And 1 goes into everything.
And 1 is 12 itself. All right, so let's create common denominator. So I'm going to tweak this guy with 4's. Okay, so 14 times 4, that's going to be 56.
And 4 times 3 is 12.
Over 12. Plus, now this guy we're going to tweak with 3's.
So that's 15 12s.
15 12s. Plus, now this one we're going to tweak with 12s.
That would 24 twelfths.
24 over 12.
Equal to
Okay, so now at this point, now we have what we want. So let's go across the top. Let's start adding this. All pluses, which is nice. Okay, so let's do the 56 plus 15. That's going to be 71 over 12 plus 24 over 12. Okay, now we add these together. So 71 and 24 is going to be 95 over 12. And now last but not least, try to reduce. Okay, well, can I reduce 95 and 12? Do they share anything? No, they don't.
without going in unevenly.
Right, so here it is. You can keep it again as an improper fraction. All right, so this is the end of our video. Hopefully you learned a lot.
Yay.
And again, you will now start your homework, hopefully. So again, hope everything is going, and I will see you in the next video.
Yay!